Welcome back, everybody. Today we are talking about my life. This is probably the 10th video that I've started and just been unable to complete, and I think it's time to address why. This video is for me. This video is for a change in my content. This video is because I have tried to make a video on Clockwork Orange, on the new One Piece live action, on Silo, on Severance, on so many flavors of the week entertainment blocks that just fall short of my hyperfixation brain. I keep making videos and then realizing I never addressed my feelings about like Westworld being canceled after it was like just such a major part of my life, and like I kind of accumulated this following just talking about this show and like a couple other shows, but like really Westworld was so much to me. Like I'll start diving into real life events when I'm making these videos, or life in general, and that's something that I've always done, but I realized that my life has changed so much that I feel like I need to give context to some things. These like little tidbits of my life, again, have always shined through my videos, and I love doing this because this channel is an extension of myself, and I love sharing that with y'all. I feel like that's the purpose of doing any of this, to be honest, is just sharing, my perspective of the world, this like little part of me that exists on this version of humanity in this timeline, in this moment that is recorded and put on the internet, and other people can view and I guess just feel like they're also a part of humanity. And I think that there's something really beautiful about that. I want to make literally any video that I want to make and not worry about the numbers of it. And if I could be so honest, I'm at this like weird dichotomy of like, I really believe that that is what I do. And then also I know that as soon as I put this video out, I am absolutely going to lose subscribers, and that bothers me. So listen, if I want to live life a certain way, I just got to live life a certain way. I got to lose these subscribers and hope that the people that stay care what I have to say. The point is, I want to create content for me. I crave another series that grabs my attention and refocuses every fiber of my being. But after Westworld got canceled, it doesn't seem like that is going to happen again for a while. Fair warning though, this video talks about sex, about kink, about many parts of my life that I've just not shared with everybody, right? I've told certain friends, certain things in different parts of my life that I've compartmentalized to keep myself safe. And listen, I turned 30 this year, and I am just tired of compartmentalizing. Writing this entire story down and what I've gone through and my perspective of the world, and just, again, the last 2 years is kind of the scope of this video. It was incredibly cathartic. It was incredibly fucking validating. I hope all of you do this. And right now, what this video is going to do is we are going to talk about the fall of Westworld and my divorce. Because it's no coincidence that these things happened around the same time. I'm just kidding. But could you imagine how funny that video would be? Westworld was canceled and it ruined my marriage. Maybe that video title would have been enough to just be acknowledged by the showrunners for what we did here. But, probably not, right? For real though, around the time Westworld was being canceled, my ex-wife and I we're getting divorced. I was fighting with my oldest friend group for the stupidest reasons imaginable, but the part of me that begged me to swallow my pride was much quieter than the part of me that insisted I was right, and I needed to make sure, above everything else, that I was right. I had other friends. I had a lot going on to keep my mind off this rapid change in my life, but covering the last season of Westworld without the support of a partner or my friend group that, again, has just been with me for so long, it made this entire process much harder. I didn't even realize it at the time, but having that sounding board to present and throw just dumb ideas at to see which jokes land and which would be high and lowbrow humor or just outright terrible altogether. Man, that was a resource. And listen, Amber, if you're watching, I love you for that, and I appreciate you. In terms of content creation, I was just suddenly without my partner in crime, without my tried and true process. It made the entire thing feel alien to me, and a big part of what I've been trying to do recently is just trying to find my process again, trying to identify what I like about doing this, and really trying to disconnect this thing that was, entirely my creation, this is my egg. This is the thing that only happens if I do it. This is my baby, right? The feelings that the attraction that I have to that from the happy feelings that I had when I was with my ex-wife. It's been incredibly difficult, and I want to sit here and tell you that I cracked it, that I understand my feelings around everything, and content creation is just, I'm back in that flow state. And right now, describing this, it feels great. I'm still feeling some kind of the anxiety about this, but you know what? Here I am. I'm presenting myself. I hope that y'all love me. If I make this video and then the next one comes out in 6 months, I guess we'll have our answer. And Jesus, let's just get into it. Amber and I had been together for 7 years. We grew up together and split because of perfectly valid reasons, in a split that really should be the blueprint for how relationships end. We still text. We are still friends. I still adore them. I want them to literally run whatever part of the world that Amber finds herself in. No bad things to say. And I feel like that's reciprocated as well. The main catalyst for our split was me, unfortunately. The truth is, I am incredibly kinky. This is a big part of my life. I love the taboo, and Amber was a vanilla bean that gave it her best shot, but it was far too one-sided for far too long. I grew up having these thoughts and being shamed for them, being told to just stray from the taboo, being told to not explore what are perfectly natural, ethical, consensual thoughts that I thought that nobody else had. Then a few years ago, the resurgence of like kink positive shit on TikTok, on the internet, period, kind of exposed me to just the thought that I'm not alone, right? And that was it. And that was it. That was all I needed. And I'm not sure where this started, this shame, but I have just had so much shame in kink. And Amber and I started exploring that after a dozen hard conversations about I don't know, about like why wearing a mask in bed had a certain ring to it, right? And we went crazy. It was wonderful. We had these amazing groups of people here in Austin. It was genuinely such a bright moment in my life. Literally some of the most loving people I had ever met in these local Austin kink groups. And it really allowed me to explore anything and everything that I was interested in. We educated ourselves on how to do things safely, on what was problematic, on what we needed to do to protect ourselves, everything. We were just two wonderfully engaged kinksters within a year, and it felt great. People knew us at events, 1,000 hugs whenever we walked in the room type energy. It was grand and stayed grand for a little while, but it changed, and Amber wasn't feeling it nearly as much as I thought that she was. I don't think she was feeling it as much as she thought she was either. We started exploring poly, and that was when things really changed. We had fun with other partners, other dynamics with group and solo play, and ultimately we landed on two definitive facts. I was really enjoying this new world, and she was not. For the sake of our relationship, we tried to find middle ground, and by that I mean a dozen of the hardest conversations you can have in a marriage. It is the most awkward thing in the world sometimes, but that is love. That is what you must do. You must have those conversations because the little thought in your brain will fester and it will come out eventually in a worse way. You need to be direct with your partners. If you're new to the dating world and you're hearing this, please believe this to be true. I have plenty of experience in this, and that is a tried and true fact that I hope no one in the comments would ever lie to you about. You must talk about the things that feel hard, awkward, or even impossible to talk about. If you're feeling those things, that is a definite sign that you need to talk about that. That's the whole point of sharing your life with someone. But back to the story. It did not work out. We were different people that wanted different things, and we grew apart, and that is a-okay. She found someone who played her video games and wanted monogamy, and I dated the other somewhat partner that we had at the time for a little while before that ended as well. I had a ton of emotions that weren't being processed, but when I climbed into bed those nights, I knew that something inside of me was broken, and as wonderful as a breakup as it was, it just, man, that hurt. There was no way to escape it, and there was nothing to say that was going to solve it. I just knew that that chapter was closed and it was time to move on, and the curtain called, and I was alone in a dark room at 27. I knew that if I did not distract myself, I, as plainly as I can say this, would not be here. I knew that at some point in the future, I would feel so good that I would hardly be able to relate to me in that moment. But all I could do is just keep telling myself that. And it fucking sucked. It was my entire life uprooted. It was a big apartment, racking up credit card debt, feeling like a failure, no idea how to move forward, feeling like my support system was gone. And then the kink group was a part that really came through in a massive way and kind of became a found family. We had met when I was with Amber, and we were all friends for a good while, but after Amber and I split, she didn't really engage with them anymore. Again, it wasn't her thing. This group was incredible. Again, a found family that I could fuck. As taboo as that sounds, I fucking hope you freaks love that shit. The point is, I thought I was falling in love after a few short months of being heartbroken. The sun was feeling bright and shiny again, and I was, of course, avoiding my feelings, but it was okay because I didn't care. And like all things in my life, there just seems to be a stopping point on the fun. Things got weird because, in retrospect, of course they did. The group grew. The original founders, myself included, debated to exhaustion about the systems of governing friend groups. If you think that that sounds ridiculous, it is because it is. Like, completely base yourself in reality here. You do not need to govern your friends. I was in the minority of people saying, hey, we don't need a million rules to say let's not be bad people. We were all kink educated and all practicing, and everything was fine. I didn't think we needed to create a government to monitor our friend group. My stance was always that this was a casual thing, and it should stay that way. All of this was common sense, and we didn't need a ledger that said not to murder people because the implicit norms of our society already ensured everybody is operating with that standard. Sure, this leaves a gray area for things to go wrong in structured government, and like those can be exploited by bad faith actors who simply want their actions morally cleared. But this, again, to me, was always a casual friend group that just engaged in this wonderful way. And it was already a part of a larger group that had this structure, for kink, right? Like the whole thing was just a kink group, and we're already a part of a larger kink group. We didn't need to create this weird power dynamic between our friends, and we didn't need to create a rival kink group here in Austin. We just needed to be this group of friends that loved each other and supported each other like we were doing this entire time. I did not want things to change, and again, I was in the minority. Naturally, things got weirder. All of this was over Discord, and when it wasn't, we had in-person hangouts to discuss the things getting weird between us. Every time we'd meet in person, it was, again, that found family, loving support system, and we could talk about anything and just be ourselves and expose the parts of ourselves that we have just been conditioned to feel bad about, right? And every time that felt amazing. And then every time I would get home and the energy was just different. I'd post something on Discord and it was like my words were being taken in the worst way possible. Like they were seeing this from like the perception of just this aggressive, just overarching, controlling, manipulative man, right? And so my words were just like twisted into this fucking narrative that they were viewing this poster as, and not really giving me the autonomy of like being the person, right? This person that they all fucking knew. I'd post something, my words would be taken, and suddenly it was just like they turned me into a boogeyman, right? And it started with 2 people until eventually a good chunk of people were reading my text in the worst light humanly possible and then attacking me because of it, right? It was like, it's so hard to describe this. Like, for instance, I could post something that my roommate and I had been talking about, something casual or even something edgy. Like we were able to joke with each other. We were such a close-knit friend group, and it would turn into an argument about something. Like, again, man, I have no examples of this. It's so hard to describe what logically happened or the feelings of it more precisely, but I was just the boogeyman to a select few. They would twist my words around, and it started small and then grew into them having a private Discord where they would actively engage in this echo chamber on just hating me. I suspected something like this was happening because everything in person perfect. Everything online, militant. It was like this insanity driving dynamic that I feel so fortunate to have had other people on my side to witness this behavior. Just like literally other people that can say, Chris is not crazy here. This literally happened. As impossible as it sounds, it happened. After one of the cunts invited a true friend of mine, Courtney, to the Discord, she grabbed a few screenshots and blew the whole thing wide open. It was obvious who exactly was twisting the words around. It was obvious who exactly, just didn't like me. Like, everything was open, and I started talking so much shit with the righteous justification to be as venomous as I wanted to be to those bad faith bastards that just did not like me and masqueraded as a friend so that they could bully me and stay friends with my other friends. In 2022, like, I could not believe this shit was happening. I was an adult fucking man. We were like the most progressive, this kink group, this hyper progressive, loving, post-divorce, safe haven, safe space turned me, and it just turned into me being bullied because of how some cunt perceived me. It felt like a dagger, and I will die being grateful to those that were able to stick up for me without anything to gain and protected me when I felt most alone. This was such a hit after being divorced, after my other friend group and I were still at odds, and I just felt like such a burden. I felt like such a problem. I felt like every time I have these friends, I'm just like, I do something. It's like, it's got to be me. It must be me. I'm the common denominator here. Like, it must be me. And if it wasn't for those friends, I would still believe that. One of the things I think I will have the most amount of shame about for the rest of my life, and I mean this so sincerely, I am so sorry that I did this, is after these people stuck their neck out for me and proved that they were friends worthy of love and my support for the end of days, the three people that I love from this group, Esper, Courtney, and Gabby, I couldn't stand to see them anymore. These people that lost friends to be in my life, I could not look at them without getting sad, without remembering that in 2022, I was bullied by the people I was closest to, the people that made sure that I wasn't alone, that I explored kink with, the people that I gave my heart and time and myself to, all of that. It was just reflected in their faces whenever we hung out, and I could not stand to be reminded of that anymore. So I ran. Esper was living with me at the time, but after he moved out, I told them that I didn't want to hang out anymore, and I broke up with Gabby. I felt even lower than I did directly after the divorce, but 6 months had passed and my lease was just about up. I talked to my mom and decided that, again, it was time to close a chapter and start a new one. And it was time to move back home in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Texas. Well, maybe it's not that crazy. It was about an hour drive from Austin, but the internet was basically non-existent, so I knew making videos wouldn't be possible, and that really hurt. Like, again, this entire time, pretty much every single day, I'm like, today's the day I want to make a video. And that doesn't happen. I hope you can imagine the anxiety. Regardless, I also had to stop playing games as well, online games. Just, man, a big part of my life as well. Going from fiber to whatever double-digit speed we had was just a kick in the teeth. I wasn't living in the city anymore, and my day-to-day was just rapidly different than what it was when I was a married man living with a long-term partner. Something that I did still have that is so important for me to share in terms of decompartmentalization, because this is me. There is no way around it. This is who I am. This is what I be. And that is a furry. This is me. I will take any questions. Being a furry rocks. Before you ask, I have never had sex in a fursuit. For me, it was a different form of escapism that I could talk about forever. Such as, imagine being a 6-foot mid-looking dude walking down the street. Not a single person is happy to see you. Like, you don't have pretty privilege, you are a man. Nobody is smiling at your existence, and the media has taught all of us that men are inherent threats to be feared. It's the most toxic shit in the world, but nobody cares about men's feelings because they are too worried about educating men about their feelings. Now, imagine putting on a giant tiger head and the entire world smiles when you pass. It's one of the most freeing things ever in the entire fucking world. I've done all the drugs. Seriously, I have experienced big parts of my life. I just want to do it all. I seriously mean that so intently. I want to do fucking everything I can before I die. And few things have come close to experiencing the difference of outward perception. It made me feel like myself again. Like I wasn't some threat to the people around me that I could just be without the world wondering what I do. There was no expectations. Like, it was grand, and I hope all of you try it. If you don't, that's fine, just the same, but I hope you get introspective about why. Being able to escape from your own body in a real sense and just be another form that has no expectations on how to behave or act or anything. You can just bob around and be a dumb fucking animal. And like, man, I really hope all of you try that. Like, I sincerely hope that whatever part of you is hesitant, that you are understanding that you're putting so much baggage on your perception of this thing. And the reality is that you'll have no idea what it is until you try it. And what I'm telling you right now is that it is so worth trying. I hope that you engage in this. And yeah, I don't know, if I start putting furry propaganda into my videos, then I guess you'll know why. But living in bumfuck Texas and being a furry was great for a while. I got to spend money on going to conventions. I got to reconnect with my mother. That was truly such a blessing. Living back home after experiencing the world on my own for a bit, and then looking at my mom like an adult instead of just like a caretaker, it is wonderful. I can't say enough good things about it, but as great as it was, every night I would go to bed alone. And those hours listening to the frogs, wishing I was next to somebody, they were bad hours. They were lonely and depressive, and like I was in a pit that could not be escaped. And all I could do is just say, hey, you've been here before. You felt these feelings before. You know that there is a light at the end of that tunnel. You know that it will always get better. And it is so hard to reassure yourself that, but you got to do it. Like, that's the only thing. You got to do it. There's no other way around it. You have to do that. And I did. And if you also get incredibly lonely at night, there might actually be a medical condition for that, to be honest. I'm not exactly sure. But start listening to music with that in mind. You will find that shit everywhere. Everyone talks about that. Like, I had no idea until like I realized that this was a thing for me. And then all of a sudden, every time I'd listen to a song, it's like some reference of like, man, the nights suck. And I'm like, yes, they do. But again, back to the story. Here I was living with my mom and my fifth stepdad, Donkey. Just kidding. I wish Donkey was my stepdad. Things were mostly good, and I lost about 100 pounds since Amber and I split. I was really committed to living healthy and working out. I was working on loving myself and really what that was. And it worked. I invested in myself. I made myself feel better. I made myself brighter, and it got the attention of my current partner, Macy. She is a wonderful moonlight kiss in a cotton hammock on a cool summer night, and she is every part of me that I felt that I was missing. And I hope my expedited story doesn't give you concern about the timeline. I was alone for a good while before I found Macy. She is wonderful. You know, I hope that I don't do the same thing with what I did with Amber and like kind of need this person to be a part of my creation process. Again, I want this entirely to be me. Or if she wants to get involved, I say we do a couple things. Listen, if we want to do a podcast, I hope y'all are down for a podcast. We are some funny motherfuckers. And yeah. Okay, I need to get back to the script. This video is going to be like 6 hours long. We met at a furry thing. She got so drunk that she spilled hero fries all over herself on 6th Street. I looked down at her, started cleaning her up, and realized this was the pure moment living goblin that I wanted to orbit around for the rest of my life. We've been together for about, I think like 5 months now. Things are going good, but listen, this is about the bad shit. I don't want to talk about the good shit. That's disgusting. All right. So she broke up with her partner and moved in with me. She had nowhere to go. This was perfectly fine. Atypical, sure, but we enjoyed a good month of living with my mom. Something that was incredibly awkward and humbling for me, but she didn't judge. And if she did, it would have been super obvious that this wasn't going to last. There is like this weird like stigma around living with your parents. I encourage everyone to do that shit. Listen, have you seen the economy? Have you looked at numbers? I'm just kidding. I don't know what numbers specifically, but yeah, live with your parents as long as you can. Have no shame about that. Have a support system. That is the only way that we can actually grow, afford our own homes, and be able to accomplish fucking anything in this world. I don't know. Live with your fucking parents. Who cares? This was a great period. We were exploring ourselves. We were exploring the dynamic that we wanted. We were having so many conversations. My mother and I were also having great conversations. We were back in the swing of things. It was like I was a kid again. I mean, not exactly. Like I had to make sure I was home at a certain point so I didn't wake her up, right? And actually, that's a lie. That didn't happen. But there was other things. There was like a loose structure. There was like, God, what did we do? I don't know. It doesn't matter. The point is, the shoe always drops. The shoe always fucking drops. My stepfather started using cocaine again, something that to this day, he probably doesn't think that we know about, but became immediately obvious to me when he was in my face screaming and threatening to assault me. So the story here is my mother goes out one night to a smoky bar, and I mean smoky. I mean like, imagine walking into a building and it's just disgusting cigarette smoke smell. That's the bar she's walking into in a little town called Elgin. She comes home, kisses my stepdad. Again, this is, I didn't see any of this. Who then accuses her of cheating because she smells like a specific person's cigarette smoke. Mom can't believe it, and he just insists. And the fight is still going on to this day that she cheated. And we've had talks. I'm like, Mom, you can tell me. Like, listen, I will lie for you. Like, Mom, you can literally tell me anything. I will help cover up the body type shit. And she's like, no, I didn't do it. And that was all I needed, right? There's no way Mom did it. It doesn't matter. One day, me and Mom are out, and she confides in me that my stepfather got really agitated and was yelling at her while I was away. She thought that I was home and was literally praying that I would come out and help her. But of course, I wasn't home, and thankfully, nothing happened. A week passes, and hearing that news, that really affected me. But a week passes, and at this point, I had never seen any of these fights, but I knew that this had happened, and he was calling her whore and slut to her face. Again, never in front of me. And the week passes. I am home. I wake up. It's 9 a.m. Work from home in full effect. Macy had already gone to work. And I go into the kitchen. I'm in the fridge. I'm looking at some healthy options. And he comes out of nowhere yelling at my mom about how she is a whore and how she ruined their marriage, about this and that, and just being in her face, yelling at the top of his lungs, using his size and strength as this intimidating show of force. So I close the fridge and murder him in cold blood. I'm just kidding. I close the fridge and politely interject as calmly as I can, as I am trying to diffuse the situation. I say things like, let's not talk to each other like this. Let's calm down. Let's talk this out. Can I help build a bridge between your two perspectives? Anything. Literally in this moment, some part of my brain just switches and acknowledges that I am the adult that needed to be the perfect version of someone talking people off of ledges. I was in the zone. And I give myself full credit, even if only me and my mother will ever acknowledge this happened. I was such a good dude in that moment. I did a great job, but Cocaine Brain had other plans, and he got in my face and started demanding that I leave, that he was kicking me out and kicking me and Macy off the property, that I was only there to team up against him, like literally thought that it was all about him. Literally thought that I was there, not because I had nowhere to go after a divorce, but because, yeah, Mom just needed some help to team up against him. Again, this is the first fight. This is the first time I've ever interjected. This is the first time I've ever had a dissenting opinion that was away from my stepfather. Finally, he threatens to go get his gun if we did not leave. I didn't know this then, but before I woke up, he threatened Mom with the same. Mom was trying her best to interject at this point, but I am walking away, trying to disengage this anger towards me, trying to defuse the situation. Again, trying to solve this in some way that wasn't me beating this old, crippled, punk-ass bitch. Again, I was in the best shape I'd ever been in. I was working out. I had muscles. And if I didn't take time in my life to educate myself on being emotionally fucking savvy in these moments, and just like what to do and what not to do, I would have acted so differently here. He was asking for an ass whooping. That is the definition of what was happening. He was enraged and he just needed to fight. Again, Cocaine Brain. He made that incredibly clear as he kept coming towards me when I was disengaging. Eventually, I'm at the back of the house, running out of room to disengage, and he is in my face, spit coming out of his mouth with every verbal attack, and he finally cocks his fist back to punch me. I'm saying things to the effect of, "No one is trying to fight you. Please do not do this. I do not want this." Nothing would work. He wanted me to swing so that he could kick me off the property, but he never got that. He once again threatens to get his gun and storms out, and me and Mom are left standing there trying to figure out if this is one of those moments where people say stupid things when they're angry, or if I need to go get a gun too. Thankfully, he drove off, and we went and stole his gun and spent the next 5 hours trying to turn them over to police, only to find out that was impossible. You cannot surrender someone else's gun, even if they threaten your life with it. We were dumbfounded and could care less what the ass-backward law had to say about it. We gave the guns to a close friend and felt safer we felt safer knowing that he did not have access to it, which I think in terms of gun legislation should play some kind of factor here. Like, there is no process that would vet him, not having a gun. He could always legally get this gun. And if this is how if this is how he behaves, like, I don't know. I don't know what the system is for gun control, but regardless, the police report was made, but nothing could have been done because he didn't say the exact words, "I'm going to kill you with my gun." He just implied it, right? And that's okay. He just implied gun violence, and those things are different, right? We can all agree those things are different, and there's no gray area because they're 100% different. And no one could ever maybe fear their life, and then nothing could be happen, and we couldn't be helped by the police, and then if he had his gun, he could, use it against us in an implied way. Just who knows? It's just implied. Who cares? Whatever. Do whatever you need to do in order to protect yourself. Whatever you need to do to feel safe. That's what we did. And for me, that was moving out and taking Macy and my mother with me. Within the month, we had another place, and we were moving. A 2-bedroom, big enough for all of us. But after we get this apartment, Mom, love you to death, tells us that she wants to stay. They were still fighting, but because cocaine was involved, the highs and lows were still present, and he wasn't always at the low that he was just at, and they have been married for quite a while. I get it. I'm not faulting my mom here. It's so hard when people you love and people that you know are a certain way, act a different way, and you try to justify their behavior in 1,000 different ways. It just felt so unsafe. It was incredibly scary to hear that she wanted to stay. We had a long conversation about how I didn't want the last conversation to be one where we think this could never happen to us, and then it does. Making a mistake was life or death, and she acknowledged that, and just hearing that she understood the situation and what I perceived as the situation, I felt like I could allow her to make this decision and not continue to press it, right? Like, she's an adult. I didn't feel like I could do anything further, so you'd be so shocked to hear that it got worse. A month later, she moved out. A couple weeks after she had her own place, he shows up and attacks her over dinner. He tried choking her out, and thankfully she fought him off. The cops arrive, take him away. She documents the bruises, and I'm just sitting there hearing that my mother was attacked. And what do you do? Man, what do you do in those moments? I was furious. I could feel my temper returning, this primitive part of me that I really want to, educate myself from. Again, emotional intelligence is our way out of being these fucking primates that just beat our chests whenever we're mad or someone has fucking other opinions than we do. But hearing my mother was attacked, dude. It was like life had kicked me 1,000 fucking times, and I just kept being the bigger person, and it was getting me nowhere. I wanted to hurt that old hobbling bitch, and I was sick to my stomach. I wanted to call my older brother and get somebody to just be crazy with me. I didn't know if I would, to be honest, I don't think I'd have actually attacked this person. I'm just not a violent person. The idea of just contemplating violence and then going and doing that without acknowledging this is a person who is just trying their best in the world. I can't do that. But what I could do is like slash his fucking tires or ruin his life in other ways or shit in the water reserve. All of those feel like justice or retribution for choking my mother, right? And making her feel like she could have died in that moment. That's the thing. I literally could not imagine. I sincerely, I wish that she killed him. Like, imagine feeling like your fucking life is threatened like that, and you just have to defend yourself. And it makes me want to fucking throw up now. Mom, I love you so much. I'm sorry you went through that. I wanted to beat his ass for what he did to Mom, but also for just being another violent man that makes people believe that there's an inherent fear of men, and that it's justified to have this fear, right? I hate this person on so many levels, but hey, I was raised right, and I focused on my mother and making sure she was safe and felt safe. And now she has cameras, and the divorce is in the works, and I just gotta pray. Like, that's it. I just gotta find God and be like, God, I hope that you kill my stepfather or something. Like, I don't know. All right, the positive. After all these bad things, there's always a light at the end of the rainbow, and that is that these days I spend most of my time focused on my career, on enjoying the evenings with my new partner. I've reconnected with that friend group, as well as the friends that stuck up for me when times got rough with the kink group. I have learned from my previous marriage, and that has influenced me in so many ways. I am such a better partner to my current partner because of that marriage. I've started a dozen new projects, including a new screenplay about a woman who inadvertently designs heaven for billionaires, and that screenplay is called Digital Goods. Life is good, and I want to bring this part of my life back into the limelight, and I hope you're just as happy to hear my voice as I am to make this video. And if you're not, and this content isn't for you, I wish you the best, and I hope you spend your time just engaged in things that make you feel wonderful and stimulated and engaged. And hey, best of luck, friends. For all the bad that I've included in this video, 1,000 wonderful moments have made the hardship worth it. I guess I just wanted to share the bad because I really only ever focus on the good, and it feels good to acknowledge that I went through some shit. Like, it feels good to acknowledge that life isn't always good. And I do this thing. Like, I do this thing where I see the best in everybody and every situation, and I am optimistic to a fault. And I put those blinders on, and it keeps me safe. And yeah, I survived. And I learned, and I'm still a dope dude who does dope shit. So I'm going to wrap this video up because ultimately the purpose was to share a little bit of myself and finally say something about the loss of Westworld. And I think that I've done one of those things. So Westworld, a brilliant concept that got muddied fast. Season 1 was art, Season 2 was worse, Season 3 stumbled, and Season 4 left everybody wishing that it was Season 1 again. They ran out of money and people that believed in them, and the showrunners moved to a new project. I wanted to see 5 seasons so bad. Since the show was announced and this like overarching like design of the story was created, I wanted them to be able to tell their entire story and for us to be able to judge the entire story. But to be honest, we know exactly what Season 1 was going to be. Like, I could literally write that plot. It was a cyclical of Season 1 of like trying just different iterations to find like a perfect kind of this like, I don't know, a governance, a way that humanity could exist, or AI and humanity could coexist. And that was going to be what Season 5 was going to be about. And the implication of that is left at the end of Season 4. And so I think I've already said this in a previous video where we really don't need Season 5. The implication of what happens is as plain as day. And the idea that it's a cyclical plot is very cool, and that it can just continue to dive into itself because of how, because of ultimately how the time works in the simulation. I wanted, again, 5 seasons, but we got what we got. I hope that they hire me for the reboot in 20 years. So, that's my thoughts. This is me. this is what has been on my plate and what I felt the need to share with y'all. This channel will cover whatever my little heart desires in the moment. Expect nothing more. I love to make AMVs. I love to be a furry. I love to make content. I love to make anything. I just want to share my perspective. If you're still subscribed to my Patreon, I encourage you to evaluate that choice right now. You may not be getting the content you paid for, but I love the support just the same. But again, let's be so honest. You need to make sure that you are supporting what I am creating, not what you believe that I'm creating, or what this channel has been thus far, right? Full integrity. I love y'all. Thank you for supporting me. Much love, everybody. Thank you for sitting with me and talking about my feelings and the hardships that I've been through recently. I hope you are keeping calm and pressing on, and I can't wait to talk to you all again soon.